I'll be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the iron compadre is today. And I apologize. It looks like we got a bad signal again. Now, folks, I got to tell you, I checked my signal before I came on the program today. I didn't remember you get a bad thing while you're tuning in. Just go ahead and tune in over at, you can go ahead and you'll find it live, or not live. It won't be live. It'll be after the program. But you can rewatch it over at Spotify. That's right, Spotify. All that having been said, how are we doing today? I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. I know that I had a good weekend. It was full of campaign stuff. It was full of doing the how shall we say, doing the honeydews that needed to get done around the yard and around the house and whatnot, because we've got another big rain coming up. So that's let's go ahead before we get into today's program, and let's go ahead and let's pay the bills here real quick. Let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to go ahead and start off with Hitman Industries. You'll find them at hitmanindustries.net. They have rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase, little discount. So make sure you let them know if you're going to go over there. And look for, once again, rifle or pistol caliber barrels, check them out today. Once again, that's Hitman Industries. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all level of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Check them out today, folks. If you want to be a part of California's future today, make sure you join CRA. Then we've got Hog Holsters. That's HAWG holster. Inside the waistband, outside the waistband. They have got what you need, no matter what kind of firearm you got or what kind of setup you might have, your light, your optic, whatever it is. Trust me, they got something that'll work for you. Just go to hogholsters.com. Make sure you use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get a discount on your Hog Holster today. And they've got, leather gear. They've got boots, they've got hats, they've got eyes, they've got, well, all things tactical, but they got. Trust me, they have it. All you got to do is you go to uscombatgear.com. Fast shipping, great selection, and phenomenal prices. Check them out today. Once again, that's uscombatgear.com. Also, however you are partaking in the program, we appreciate you partaking, but we also want to encourage you, find other ways to partake. Like, as you see, the internet gurus, gods, or whoever they are deciding that they're going to make it really, really hard for us to be able to stream. So, in that vein, I want to encourage you, please take a moment and follow us more than one way. Spotify happens to be YouTube. You can find us on Facebook or wherever you get your podcast. But I want to encourage you, however you subscribe in multiple places. One, it helps us with the algorithm. Let people know, hey, people really like these guys. But also, in the event that we have a problem in one area, we're working on it. The more you support us, the more our sponsors will support us, the more we can hopefully afford to upgrade some technology. Trust me, it's not the internet access. I can tell you right now, I got great internet access. I'm be talking to Restream, just so y'all know. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into today's program. Our first story here. Well, this has to do with the student over at UGA, and I'll go ahead and I'll read this to you. Now, what's interesting about this was this is a student who was murdered, who was killed. This was a UGA student who was killed by someone who was in the country illegally. It says here, Augusta University student killed while jogging at UGA, honored at vigil as the suspect's immigration status fuels debate. Now, mind you, in the initial story, they didn't say anything about his immigration status, but I digress. It says, while mourners spoke at a vigil honoring a beloved student found dead on University of Georgia campus, her suspected killer's immigration status has renewed debate over immigration policies. Laken Hope Riley, who was a nursing student at a nearby school, had been a UGA student until May 2023, was found dead Thursday after jogging near a lake on campus. The 22-year-old died from blunt force trauma to the head, according to Athens Clarke County Coroner Sonny Wilson. Arrest affidavits released Monday gave a few more details into what the authorities say happened to Riley. One alleges the assailant caused bodily harm, quote, by seriously disfiguring her body or member thereof by disfiguring her skull. The investigator also, end quote, by the way. An investigator also alleges the suspected killer concealed Riley's death by dragging the victim to a secluded area. Another affidavit, David, says police believe the assailant physically prevented Riley, quote, with the intent to cause physical harm, end quote, from making a 911 call while she was at the intramural field. The suspect in her killing, Jose Antonio Ibarra, 26, has since been charged with felony murder, false imprisonment, and kidnapping and concealing the death of another, jail records show. Investigators said there is no evidence Ibarra knew Riley. Now, here's where the kicker comes in. It says Ibarra's status as an undocumented Venezuelan immigrant is now being touted by several state and national GOP leaders to support their calls for tighter border security, though there is little evidence indicating a connection between immigration and crime. That is a lie. That is a lie from the pit of hell. And by the way, this was a guy who was arrested. And released into the United States. So he entered into the United States and then was released by the Biden administration because he was, quote unquote, seeking amnesty. This is beyond, this folks right here goes beyond the pale in terms of what we have to be concerned about and why we should really be concerned about what's going on. Now, the Biden administration has come out and they've released a statement. And in their statement, they're saying, well, whoever's guilty of this should be held accountable. The problem is that it is their policy. They're encountering or they're going to or they're doing these interviews with immigration, and then they're being released into the country. Now, if this were the only incident of an individual coming into the United States, having come across our southern border and engaged in a violent activity, absolutely no link. They're completely, utterly ignoring the crime spree that's taking place right now in, for example, places like New York, where they literally have gangs of Venezuelan gang members on mopeds, robbing people, shooting people. This is not an isolated, let me clarify. It may be an isolated incident, but we know if he had been held, if he had been deported, is it too much to say that this young lady would still be alive? Here it says, the White House shared a statement regarding the murder of the Augusta student. It says here, the White House on Monday shared a statement regarding the murder of Augusta University student Laken Riley on the University of Georgia campus in Athens. We would like to extend our deepest condolences to the family and loved ones of Laken Hope Riley, and quote, end quote, a White House spokesman told Fox News Digital, quote, people should be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law if they are found to be guilty. Given this is an active case, we would have to refer you to state law enforcement and ICE. UGA Police Chief Jeffrey Clark on February 23rd announced the arrest of Jose Antonio Ibarra, a 26-year-old illegal immigrant from Venezuela who is accused of murdering Riley on UGA's campus while she was out for a Thursday morning jog. Clark said during a Friday evening press conference that Riley died of blunt force trauma. Now, what gets me about this, and this is what gets me about this, is initially when they put this thing out, all they talked about, they said, well, you know, the concern was about student athletes, female student athletes on campus. You know, I find it beyond angering that that people don't see, or people refuse to see, and obviously the folks over at CNN refuse to see the tie between the fact that our southern border is wide open, that people are just walking across. And keep in mind, These are only the people. When we talk about the over 7 million people who have entered our country since Biden became president, we're only talking about the ones we know about. There are hundreds of thousands, if not, and I believe the more numbers, more like millions of people that we don't know. Orders are Kamala Harris has done absolutely nothing. Our president has done absolutely nothing. None of them have done anything to address this particular issue. And it is beyond frustrating. It is beyond angering to me that they feel like that they can get away with this, because they know that, first of all, we don't take our border seriously. We don't take our immigration laws seriously. Clearly, we don't take the safety of our citizens seriously. Folks, if you are going to just let people come into your country and then you're going to reward them for doing so, why would they not think? I don't know. I don't know why they would think that there is no real reason for me or anyone to believe that they don't think that they just have a right to do whatever it is they want when they get here. And that's sad. That is very sad. Now, the other part of this, and this is also a thing that is very, very frustrating, is, well, you know, there are vigils that President Biden and say, President Biden, you need to do something to secure our southern border so that our people can be safe. No, you will not see any such. You will not see or experience any such protests. But what you have seen are protests relating to death of Next Benedict. Now, Next Benedict is a student. He was bullied, right? That was bullied and wound up getting, quote unquote, beat up, had to go to the hospital, and died a day later. Now, what's interesting is a lot of the students who are protesting, because a day later, then a bunch of students walked out of class in protest, or several days later, they walked out of class in protest over the death of over the death of Benedict. Basically, you know, claiming this is, you know, because things that they won't tell you. The things that are left out oftentimes in this story is, number one, that this student actually assaulted 3 other students. When I say assaulted, I mean threw water on 3 other students. Now, it's been a long time since I've been in high school, admittedly. But I'm trying to remember what would happen to someone who, if, number one, they did on me, if they threw water on individuals, on other people, right? In particular, people who were supposedly bullying them. And I'm trying to imagine what would have been the outcome. And the outcome would have been those individuals probably would have gone after that person, and there would have been a physical altercation. And turns out there was a physical altercation. Now, the way it was made it sound like this particular individual had all sorts of, like, they were knocked into a coma, that they were wound up releasing body cam footage, right? Now, I'm not going to do any sound. I don't have any sound on the particular video, but this is video. That right there is Next. And as you can see, Next does not really appear to be in a lot of physical pain. Evidence that Next had been severely harmed. I'm not saying that Next wasn't. I'm saying that this video definitely appears to show somebody who is, doing all right. I could be wrong. Some sort of a medical overdose, or was it a suicide? We don't know exactly what the cause of death was, and that will eventually come out. But what gets me here, though, is how the media has taken this event, and by the way, they're directly tying this particular incident to laws recently passed and laws recently proposed dealing with and addressing the transgender, because that's really what it is. Because supposedly, according to them, gender is not supposed to matter. In other words, your gender is not determined by your biology, according to them. So if gender's not changed according to your biology, then I don't understand what the gender affirming care is. You're trying to say I'm trying to make my outside look like my inside is really trying to do. Because even if you modify the sexual traits, meaning you remove the breasts, you use hormone blockers to keep them from going through puberty, whether you remove the penis, that doesn't. All it does, and it doesn't change their sex because there's XY chromosomes and XX chromosomes, and just because you alter the trait modifications doesn't mean that you change that you change what that person is. It does. We there's a lot that we don't know, but what frustrates me is that we have a media that is hiding, that is really trying to push a narrative. And in this particular case, they want to make it out as if, all these laws are against adults who are making this decision. But really what it is old who are receiving hormone treatments, who are receiving, who are experiencing elective surgery, having their body physically changed, whether chemically or surgically. Now, these are children, mind you. These are children. We don't allow them to get tattoos without their parents' permission. In California, we don't even allow them to go to the tanning salon, even with their parents' permission. But we allow them to take chemicals that could potentially castrate them, that could cause osteoporosis, that have all sorts of side effects, that could once again, body parts of a child, of someone who may or may not be in a position where they know what they want yet. That's what people are trying to protect. They're trying to protect children. And yet still the media doesn't talk about it. And when they talk about anti-LGBT, and by the way, most of these, as Dave Chappelle said, these laws have nothing to do with the others of them, right? These are simply people. And by the way, in fact, one could say it's protecting them. Because if you happen to be lesbian or gay or bisexual or queer, but maybe you happen to and should lop off body parts and take hormones that are going to perhaps sterilize them, or having their or perhaps instead of maybe it's a biological female who's now being told that you're really a boy because you happen to be could potentially sterilize you. We're going to now remove healthy breast tissue from a child. Once again, I'm going to continue to say this. We're talking about children. And in some cases, they want to do this against their parents' will. In fact, there was one bill in California, like, no, it's not. Yes, it was a real bill. It was something that was actually proposed here in the state of California. It was all bad, folks. There's no other way that I can put it other than it was all bad. But anyway, we're talking about protecting children. And the media is putting a lot of this stuff out there, a lot of this fear-mongering out there. And if this does in fact turn out to be an instance where an individual is dealing with suicide or has on the mainstream media and on academia and on Democrats who quite frankly are lying about the whole situation. In any case, you had students who actually walked out of class, and this is being promoted all across the country, walked out of class in solidarity with NEX. What I mean by common nonsense is that there are narratives, and I cannot call them facts because they are not facts. There are statements, there are narratives that are being promoted in academia, in mainstream media, in leftism in general, that simply are not true, but they are being paraded around. Common sense, it's common nonsense because it's just not true, because decisions that people are making are not based on actual facts and information. And in this particular case, this was a student who, once again, let's go back here real quick. According to the LGBTQ advocates, these are always, by the way, young ideology. So we don't know if it was a suicide, but before you lose your mind and start blaming other people, how about you stop to think that maybe, just maybe, this could have been a suicide? I'm not saying it was. Do not get out there and say Craig DeLuz said it was a suicide. I'm saying, how about we figure out what it was? The other thing was that, keep in mind, this was a student who attacked other students by her own words. By her own words. Being person up is the right way to do it. I'm not saying that it should have happened. I'm saying that if you threw water on 3 people who you yourself said were bullies, I'm going to say you probably could have expected it to happen. I'm not saying it should have. I'm not saying the student shouldn't be. Once again, it shouldn't have happened, but could you have expected it to happen? Was it unreasonable to believe that something like that was going to be the consequence, was going to be the result? Oh, folks, real quick, folks, I got a bad connection. I'm going to disconnect and reconnect,